Dive into the mysterious and profound world of spiritual alchemy, where money is not just a medium of exchange, but a channel for power, transformation, and transcendence. The Gnosis of Money, Spirit in the Form of Gold, is a revolutionary work by Aleister Crowley that challenges conventions and explores the hidden connections between the material and the spiritual. In these pages, gold ceases to be merely a precious metal and becomes a symbol of divine power, a vehicle for enlightenment and inner awakening. Through the words of Crowley, one of the most provocative and enigmatic thinkers of the 20th century, we embark on a journey toward a deep understanding of how money can be transmuted from mere earthly wealth into a source of spiritual energy. It's not just about acquiring more, but about understanding the true nature of money, its potential for personal transformation, and how, by comprehending its energy, we can achieve a prosperity that transcends the physical and touches the divine. This text not only reveals the mysterious relationship between spirit and gold, but also challenges our deepest beliefs about wealth, power, and the purpose of life itself. The Gnosis of Money is not a simple treatise on economics. It is an open door to a higher understanding, where money, far from being a mere end, becomes a means to hidden wisdom and personal magic. Prepare to immerse yourself in a world of esoteric knowledge, where the material becomes spiritual, and every coin, every bill, is a spark that ignites the fire of awakening. The magic of gold and Crowley's Gnosis await to guide you toward a new way of seeing the world. Gold is not found, it is invoked. I have returned, not because you called me with incense, nor because you lit candles or spoke my name in trembling circles. I have returned because your soul, tormented by mediocrity, oppressed by false morality, mutilated by guilt, still fears money. And where there is fear, there are chains. And where there are chains, I come to break them. This book, if you dare to name it without trembling, is not a guide for giving coins, nor a collection of formulas for the blind to walk through the city of men. This is a cursed book for slaves and sacred for kings, a grimoire for those who, at the edge of the abyss, understood that spirit is not separate from matter, and that money is the visible form of conscious desire. You, who were born to dominate but learned to ask for permission. You, who proclaimed your faith in spirit but rejected gold as if it were the excrement of demons. You, who sought the light in monasteries while gold shone in the hands of those who do not pray. You have lied to yourself for too long, and I have come to give you a mirror, raw, yet true. Gold is not the enemy of the soul. Money, that spectre some call impure, is a spiritual servant of the highest order, a powerful elemental, an archangel in chains, a demon awaiting orders. And you, lukewarm soul, still do not know how to command. Why do I write this? Because the new era demands gods clothed in flesh, not begging monks. Because freedom is not sung in hymns, it is signed with contracts, protected with gold, and conquered with will. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Do you remember? But how can you exercise your will if you do not possess the means? How can you manifest your destiny if you are a servant of circumstances? Magic is not fantasy. Magic is the technology of the soul, and money is its fuel. Why is gold feared? Because gold does not bow, because it reflects what you are, without lies, because money is a mirror of your mind, and you, who fear seeing yourself, have learned to hate that mirror. They have told you that money is dirty, that one cannot be spiritual and rich, that gold corrupts. I tell you, poverty corrupts, lack dulls, misery destroys will. No true adept has flourished in scarcity. No initiate has shone from impotence. Greatness needs form, and form requires power, and power manifests as wealth. Spirit in the form of gold. The title of this book is not a metaphor. The Gnosis of Money is not a modern self-help doctrine, nor a reinterpretation of capitalism disguised as mysticism. It is an alchemical revelation. Gold, the noble metal, eternal, incorruptible, has been since the beginning of time the symbol of embodied divinity. Gold is what does not rust, what does not age, what remains. Gold is the flesh of the sun, and money, when it carries real value, not debt paper, is its earthly reflection. Money is the shadow of gold, and gold is the shadow of spirit. Thus money is the shadow of God. But how can a man dominated by fear control the God he himself rejects? This book is a ritual. Every word you are reading is a spell, every chapter a sigil, every revelation a key to open a chamber you have sealed with lies. I do not write to convince you. I did not come to comfort you. I am Aleister Crowley, and this is not a book for the devout. This is a book for those who dare to be gods. Through these pages I will guide you as Virgil guided Dante's soul, not to show you the circles of hell, but to reveal the underworld of your mind, where you keep your traumas with money, your promises of scarcity, your invisible vows of inherited poverty. And there, in the center of your forgotten temple, I will teach you to invoke the golden spirit, to consecrate money as a servant, to stop asking for permission, and to reign. The new era demands conscious abundance. The time of martyrs is over. The time of ascetics is over. This is the age of the lion. And Horus does not ask. Horus commands. Horus does not fear. Horus manifests. Horus does not wait. Horus takes. The new initiate does not hide in caves. He builds empires. The new adept does not chant mantras under the full moon. He invests, conquers, manifests, and then offers gold at the altar of his own divinity. Money as embodied magic. This text will teach you to invoke money, not from blind desire, but from the throne of your true will. You will learn that money is neither bad nor good. It is obedient. Wealth is the natural result of a mind aligned with its destiny. Spirit can take form, and money is one of its most effective manifestations. Gold is power when you own it, and a prison when it owns you. At the end of this path I promise nothing. I do not sell miracles. I am not a shepherd of sheep. I am the roar of the beast. But if you advance, if you do not tremble, if you do not kneel before dogmas or your own limitations, then at last you will sit upon your inner throne, crowned with invisible gold, surrounded by riches that come not from banks but from the liberated soul. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And if your will is wealth, then wealth you shall have. But if your will is fear, then let the universe give you what you yourself decree in silence. I am Aleister Crowley. This is my golden grimoire. Let us begin. The Gnosis of Money, Spirit in the Form of Gold, by Aleister Crowley. Chapter 1. The Taboo of Gold. Why do slaves fear money? Gold smells of sulfur to those raised in the stable of obedience. Every time a weak mind contemplates a fortune, it trembles, not out of greed, which is natural and useful to the awakened animal, but out of guilt. Because from their very first breath the slave has been taught to fear power, and there is no power more tangible, more immediate, more absolute in this plane than money. Gold is the blood of the world, and that is why the herds are taught to fear its scent, to look at it with suspicion, to call it dirty, as if it were something external to them, when in reality gold has always been a mirror of the soul. I have seen saints live off alms while preaching renunciation. I have spat on marble altars where humility was worshipped as a virtue, when it is nothing more than the amputation of the self. I have walked among sages who rejected money with disdain, as if the universe found merit in glorifying misery. And I have laughed, because what the fool calls sin, the initiate recognizes as misinterpreted power. The taboo of gold is a programming, an inherited curse, a collective spell cast by the powerless against that which they do not know how to master. Who benefits from this taboo? The one who imposes it, the priest who says money is worldly while counting tithes in the back room, the politician who promises equality while signing contracts under the table, the father who teaches his child that money is not the most important thing, while prostituting himself daily in a job he hates for the very coins that enslave him. All who preach against gold live under its yoke, and all who fear it serve it in silence. The initiate does not fear gold. He shapes it, invokes it, consecrates it, because he knows that gold has no morality. Gold does not know good or evil. Gold does not ask. Gold does not judge. Gold does not forgive. Gold obeys. It is the most loyal of elementals, the most powerful of servants, and the most dangerous of masters. For gold, when not governed, governs, and when it governs, it corrupts. Not by its nature, but by the weakness of those who wield it without having prepared themselves for it. Anyone who fears money actually fears power, because when understood, money is not paper or numbers. It is the material manifestation of will. It is the visible result of a mind that has decided to impose itself upon matter. The ancient alchemists knew this. They did not seek gold to adorn themselves. They sought it because they knew that where there is gold, there is fire, and where there is fire, there is transformation. But the modern fool does not seek transformation. He seeks excuses. And his best excuse is to turn money into a demon, so that he may live as a victim without ever confronting his own cowardice. Do you dare to see what money really represents? It is nothing more than a symbolic form of desire turned into structure. Every banknote is a decree, a command thrown into the universe that shouts, "This has value." And who backs it? No one, because money does not need backing, it only needs faith. Exactly like the gods. Gold is therefore a modern god, one that does not demand blood sacrifices but consciousness. And that is why slaves fear it. Because gold reveals what they truly believe. Because gold does not lie. Because gold strips them bare. The taboo of money is the greatest enemy of spiritual freedom. Because it prevents great souls from assuming their throne. Because it condemns the seeker to live in mental beggary, waiting for the universe to reward their purity with miracles that never come. Because it turns spirituality into an excuse for failure. And I, Aleister Crowley, a desecrator of temples, crowner of inner gods, have come to destroy that taboo with words that cut deeper than any ceremonial dagger. Money is a sacrament. It is the sacrament of will made matter. It is the visible form of your ability to impose order upon chaos, to shape reality according to your desire. There is no difference between a talisman consecrated under the moon and a coin consecrated with purpose. The only difference is that one you recognize as magical and the other you call mundane. Because that is how you were trained, that is how you were neutralized, that is how your will was castrated. And you, who are reading this, must ask yourself, how many invisible vows of poverty have you made? How many times have you told yourself, I don't need that much? How many times have you celebrated scarcity as if it were a virtue, when in reality it was fear? How many times have you rejected the money you secretly longed for, just to avoid seeming selfish, materialistic, or ambitious? Let me say it plainly, without masks or metaphors. Ambition is sacred. Desire is the fuel of the universe. A will that does not manifest in abundance is a will asleep. A soul that does not claim its power in this world does not deserve the heavens. There is nothing more spiritual than mastering matter. There is nothing more divine than looking at gold without trembling and saying, "You will obey me." Because in that act there is no greed, there is affirmation. Because in that moment the taboo is broken. Because in that instant you cease to be a slave. Because then money stops being your master and you become its own. True magic is not in the words you whisper in the dark, but in your ability to align your desire with reality. And if your reality is marked by scarcity, by dependency, by constant struggle just to survive, then your magic is impotent, then your altar is empty, then your inner God has been betrayed, but not all is lost. The first step to freedom is truth, and the truth is this: gold is not impure, you made it so. Money is not evil, you misinterpreted it. Abundance is not a sin, it is a test. The ancient masters knew this. That is why they hid their treasures, not in chests, but in symbols. The gold that shines outside is merely a reflection of the gold within, and only he who has conquered his own darkness can touch gold without becoming a slave to its gleam. That is why I'm writing this book. Not to teach you how to earn money, but to free you from the taboo that keeps it away from you. Not to make you rich, but to remind you that you already are. Because wealth does not begin in your bank account. It begins in your ability to command the universe with your will. And if you have made it this far, without closing this book, without feeling scandalized, without searching for a scripture to justify your misery, then perhaps, just perhaps, you are ready to begin the true ritual. Gold is not found, it is invoked, and the first seal is broken. See you in the next chapter. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Chapter 2, the soul of metal, the dormant consciousness of value. There is no matter without spirit. There is no stone that does not speak, nor metal that does not dream. But the blind of soul believe that gold is merely gold, that silver is just a commodity, that copper serves only to conduct electricity. Poor fools, trained in a science without a soul and a religion without a body. The initiate knows that everything that exists is conscious on a hidden level, and that each element vibrates with an intelligence beyond the understanding of the profane. That is why speaking of gold is not about finance. It is about a consciousness that sleeps in the form of metal, waiting to be awakened by the will of the magician. The soul of metal is not a metaphor. It is an alchemical principle. Gold is not merely a shiny mineral. It is a living symbol of the sun, of the supreme fire, of the divine essence condensed into the physical world. And like all true symbols, it contains within it a vibration that responds to the consciousness that contemplates it. This is why gold attracts the powerful and drives the weak insane, because it is not gold that transforms, but the one who beholds it. I, Aleister Crowley, have seen it. I have felt it. I have held coins in my hands and heard whispers. I have witnessed how a bar of gold, consecrated in ritual, can become a talisman. I have learned that it is not about possessing gold, but about communicating with it, awakening it, commanding it, because gold is a sleeping spirit, and you are either its master or its servant, depending on your level of consciousness. Value, that concept so prostituted by economists, is nothing but a shadow of human perception. What holds value is not what the world decides, but what your soul recognizes. And gold, in its purity, represents absolute value, the incorruptible, the untainted, the eternal. What better symbol could there be for embodied eternity? That is why the ancients linked it to the gods, used it to crown kings, seal pacts, and build temples, because they knew that where there is gold, there is power. But not just any power, the conscious power of spirit taking form. When you touch a coin, what do you see? A number, a tool, a necessity. Then you are still a slave. The initiate does not see an object, he sees a dormant weapon, an energy waiting to be activated, a reflection of the divine fire trapped in the prison of form. Because all metal has a soul, but gold has memory. Memory of what it has been and what it can become. Every atom of gold that exists has passed through empires, tombs, rituals, sacrifices, wars, temples, and markets. Gold is a silent witness to the history of the world, and its consciousness, though quiet, vibrates with the imprints of everything it has touched. Yet the blind sell it out of necessity. The timid hide it out of fear, the weak despise it out of envy. And you, what do you do when gold reaches your hands? Do you use it as a mere tool without consecrating it, without recognizing its essence? Then you have understood nothing, because every time you receive money, you are receiving a fragment of dormant consciousness, and it is up to you whether you awaken it with purpose or condemn it to eternal sleep. Value is not in gold itself, but in your relationship with it. That is the gnosis the modern world has forgotten. Gold responds to those who treat it with reverence, not with greed, to those who consecrate it as an ally, not to those who worship it as an idol, because gold does not want to be worshipped. It wants to be commanded, and only an awakened mind can give orders to the soul of metal without being destroyed by its brilliance. And what of modern money, that soulless corpse printed on paper? It too contains spirit, but a weak, artificial, manipulated one. It does not vibrate like pure gold, but it can still be consecrated, still be transformed into a talisman if touched by an awakened will. Because the soul of metal is not limited to physical gold, it also manifests in the symbol, in the number, in the intention behind every transaction. If your mind is awake, even a counterfeit coin can become a channel of power. But knowing this is not enough. You must practice it. You must train yourself in the contemplation of value, because all external value is a reflection of internal value. And if your life is full of lack, it is not because the world is unfair. It is because you have not yet awakened to the consciousness of gold within you. Because you have not claimed the right to attract, multiply, and use wealth as a God incarnate would. Because you have lived under the shadow of the taboo, believing that to possess is less spiritual than to renounce. I have renounced everything, but not out of weakness. I have done so to master, because one who cannot release cannot possess, because the true magician is neither attached to gold nor rejects it. He contemplates it, activates it, consecrates it, and wields it as a servant of his higher purpose. The soul of metal is asleep, yes, but not forever. It awaits only a true word, a burning will, a magician who does not tremble before its power. It waits for you to stop treating money as an enemy, a mere resource, a modern fetish, and start treating it for what it truly is, a living extension of your consciousness. Do you dare to speak to gold, to place it on your altar, and to say to it, "You serve me because I am your master"? Then prepare yourself, because when the soul of metal awakens, everything transforms. Doors open, paths clear, and opportunities appear as if by magic, because they are. And when this happens, remember, it was not the gold that changed, it was you, and it was you who awakened. It was you who remembered that value is not in what you have, but in what you are. And in the end, gold is nothing more than the shadow of your inner fire, projected onto matter. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and if your will is to awaken the consciousness of gold, so be it. Chapter 3, The Mirror of Abundance. Everything you love possesses you. everything you desire intensely begins to surround you, to infiltrate your thoughts, to vibrate with you like a living entity claiming its right to manifest. But what no one has told you, and I reveal to you now without mercy or euphemism, is that everything you love also possesses you. Desire is a double-edged force. It creates, but it also binds. It attracts, but it also consumes. It crowns, but it also devours. And money, that golden demon that dances upon the tightrope of human desire, is no exception. It is the purest test of all. Abundance is not an external accumulation of things. Abundance is an internal geometry of the soul, a symmetry between what you are and what you allow yourself to receive. But that openness to receiving, that secret chant that the universe listens to, is corrupted when what you desire becomes your master. For every uncontrolled desire is a form of slavery. And you, who claim to seek wealth, have you looked sincerely at yourself? Is your pursuit an act of power or a cry of lack? Is it a divine affirmation or an echo of your misery? The initiate, sooner or later, confronts the mirror of abundance. It is not a physical mirror, of course, but an astral reflection that manifests in objects, in symbols, in people, and in the opportunities that surround one's life. The mirror of abundance does not show you what you want. It shows you what you truly believe you deserve. And here begins the tragedy of those who seek without knowing themselves, of those who decree without purification, of those who cry out for wealth while secretly rejecting it, out of fear, out of guilt, out of the old chains of dogma. This mirror does not lie, and it reflects your vibration. If you approach it with a divided heart, it will return lack. If you approach it with blind desire, it will return confusion. But if you contemplate it as a god contemplates his creation, with total detachment and total authority, then it will show you gold, because abundance never responds to what you beg for. It only responds to what you embody. Everything you love obsessively will eventually claim your soul, if you do not love it with consciousness. Money, when loved blindly, becomes a cruel master. But when it is loved with presence, it becomes a faithful servant. That is why the ancient initiates were trained not only to attract wealth, but to hold it without trembling. Because gold tests those who touch it. Gold reveals the imposter. Gold screams your inner truth to the universe and does so without asking permission. And what happens when a being is unprepared to hold the abundance they demand? Gold possesses them. It consumes them, infiltrates their emotional cracks, their unresolved lacks, and becomes the instrument of their self-destruction. It is not the rich who corrupt money. It is money that destroys the uninitiated. Because the energy of abundance is alive, awake, and does not forgive incongruence. Do you want to know if you are possessed by what you love? Observe your body when you think about money. Does it tense up? Do you feel anxiety, envy, impatience? Then you do not love money. You fear it. You do not master it. It masters you. Your love is not divine. It is addictive. Your desire is not ritual. It is compulsion. And that means you are not yet free. And the key is to love without belonging, to desire without needing, and to invoke without begging. The true magician desires with the fire of the sun and the serenity of the moon. His desire is as intense as it is detached, not because he does not want things, but because he knows that he is already the source of all things. He does not seek to fill voids. He seeks to expand fullness. And that attitude, that alchemical balance between desire and sovereignty, is what turns the mirror of abundance into a portal instead of a prison. Look at yourself now in that invisible mirror. Think of everything you long for: wealth, freedom, beauty, recognition, and pleasure. Do you love these things, or do these things possess you? Can you have them without becoming their slave? Or do you still need to justify your desire just to feel worthy of it? The universe does not punish desire. That is the doctrine of the spiritually dead. The universe is desire in motion. All creation is born from the fire of divine desire. What the universe does not tolerate is incoherence, hypocrisy, the false humility of those who claim not to want while secretly writhing in longing. Gold, when looked upon with clear eyes, reveals that everything that exists is willing to serve you. If you are willing to govern yourself, because you cannot rule gold if you do not rule your fire. You cannot master abundance if you do not master your shadows. You cannot invoke wealth without first having dominion over your hunger. Everything you love possesses you, yes, but you can also possess what you love if you do so with wisdom. And that wisdom is not found in economics books, nor in finance courses, nor in the empty speeches of modern gurus who sell abundance as just another product. That wisdom is found in you, in the incandescent core of your being, where your deepest desire meets your highest divinity. Because true abundance is not something you seek. It is something you remember. And when you remember that you are the source, the channel, and the destination, when you stop desiring like a beggar and start decreeing like a sovereign, when your love for money no longer arises from fear or lack, but from the recognition of its sacred nature, then and only then money kneels before you. Then the mirror stops reflecting your lacks and begins to expand your kingdom. Then you no longer love gold, you become it. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and may your will be pure, brilliant, and powerful, like the metal that awakens sleeping gods. Chapter 4. Money as an Aeon. The spirit of the new god that devours the old. Every era gives birth to its own god, and every god is merely a reflection of the consciousness that creates it. In ancient days, men offered blood to deities that demanded obedience. In other times, incense, prayers, and silence were enough. But the god of this new aeon does not want incense, nor chants, nor martyrs. It wants movement, it wants desire, and it wants crystallized will. And its face is not found in carved wooden icons nor in dusty temples. Its face shines in coins, in the digits vibrating through the invisible web, in the agreements that build empires. Its name is no longer Krishna nor Buddha, its name is money. Does that disturb you? Then you are still asleep, because money is not just a means of exchange nor a creation of modern man. Money is a manifestation of the spirit of the current aeon, a god that does not need to be believed in to operate, because it acts mechanically, archetypically, symbolically. Money, as a living force, is the god of movement, choice, responsibility, and power. And like any true god, it demands sacrifice, the sacrifice of your ignorance, the sacrifice of your fears, the sacrifice of your moral attachments to scarcity. You who read these words, you could still cling to the god of the past, to that God who demanded poverty in exchange for redemption, to that God who promised unreachable heavens as a reward for well-endured suffering, to that God who scorned those who desired anything beyond penance. But that God, weak, punishing, inert, has already been devoured. The new aeon does not permit martyrs, only creators, and the creator does not wait, he manifests. This is the aeon of Horus, and Horus is not a compassionate God. He is a solar god, fierce, demanding expansion, action, execution. Horus does not expect you to be humble. He expects you to be powerful. Horus does not reward the weak. He demands that you rise with your inner fire and take what is yours. And money in this new order has become the most visible avatar of that energy, because money is nothing but the energetic condensation of will in action. But like any new god, money has been misunderstood. Some have worshipped it blindly, others have demonized it in ignorance. They have built financial temples as empty as the cathedrals of the past, because money without consciousness is chaos. Without direction, it is decay. Without purpose, it is tyranny. Money is not the enemy, and the enemy is the inner void of man, the man who receives wealth without having awakened. This new god devours the old, not with violence but with evidence, because gold has replaced dogma, because success replaces sacrifice, because expansion replaces penance, because the awakened being no longer begs, he creates. This is not a call to greed, it is a cry for freedom. The new aeon does not seek hoarders of objects, it seeks manifestors of purpose. Those who understand that money is power, and that power without consciousness is corruption. But power with consciousness is illumination. If you must worship something, if you must consecrate your energy to a living force, let it be the God that allows you to act, that pushes you to build, that demands you to be present. Money has no face, but it has presence. It has no morality, but it has consequences. It is the purest energy of the new age, because it is absolutely neutral. It gives you exactly what you are. Do you want to know who you are? Observe how money moves in your life. Does it flow easily? And then you are an open channel. Does it hide, escape, rot in your hands? Then you are a broken vessel, a chalice without an altar. Because this new God, the living aeon of money, does not forgive incoherence. It does not respond to prayers. It responds to vibration. It does not obey orders, and it obeys certainty. It does not appear out of need. It appears by law, and that law is called will. I do not write this to seduce you, and I do not persuade, and I decree, because I have seen beyond the veil. I have witnessed the end of the old world, and the ascension of the new. I have witnessed the judgment of religions. That poisoned the soul with guilt, and the birth of an era where the individual is his own temple. And in that temple, money is no longer profane, it is sacred. Sacred because it represents possibility, sacred because it confronts you, sacred because it multiplies what you touch, sacred because it does not respond to fear but to mastery. Do you want abundance? Then honor the new God, but not with idolatry, with presence, not with worship, with dominion, not with servitude, with consciousness. Because money does not want you to adore it. It wants you to use it. It wants you to put it at the service of your highest expression. It wants you to build temples with it, to nourish dreams, to turn ideas into empires, because that is what the true magician does. He transforms energy into form. Money as an eon is the serpent that devours itself, that creates and destroys, that gives and takes, that rewards and annihilates. But you decide, will you use it as a sword, or will you kneel before it as a slave? Because money in this new age tolerates no lukewarmness. It is the brightest mirror of the soul, the most honest altar, the battlefield where your true vibration is measured. And if you understand it, if you integrate it, if you awaken it within you as a divine force, then you will no longer need to pray, because you will have become the oracle. You will no longer ask, you will decree. You will no longer worship, you will govern. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And if your will is in harmony with the new God, then heaven and earth will open before you, and gold, that messenger of the eon, will serve you as fire serves the alchemist, not to consume you, but to consecrate you. Chapter 5, The Forging of Will, How to Become the Master of Inner Gold. There is no abundance without will. There is no outer gold without inner fire. There is no manifestation without alchemy. And you who claim to believe in wealth, who dream of freedom, and who repeat affirmations like empty mantras, waiting for the universe to answer with miracles, you still do not understand the essential truth. Gold does not come to those who desire it. Gold comes to those who master it, because gold is a reflection of your will. And if your will is weak, inconsistent, fearful, moralistic, then gold will reject you as fire rejects water. Will is not simply wanting. Wanting is of the ego. Will is of the soul. When the soul does not ask, it commands. The soul does not doubt, it knows. The soul does not wait, it acts. That is why anyone who desires gold must first pass through the crucible of themselves. They must be melted and reshaped. They must descend into their personal hell, face their own demons of scarcity, and emerge with a will harder than steel, brighter than the sun, purer than gold. The forging of will is the most sacred act of the magician. It does not take place on altars with candles, but in daily decisions. It is not completed in nighttime rituals, but in the silences where fear is renounced. It is not manifested in prayers, but in actions, because will is not a mystical energy, but a force of conscious design, a sacred geometry that shapes reality according to your inner fire. Do you want gold? Forge your will. Do you want money? Refine your mind. Do you want abundance? Transmute your emotions, because the universe will never grant lasting wealth to those who are not yet worthy of holding it. And being worthy is not a matter of morality, it is a matter of vibration. You do not attract what you desire, you attract what you are. And this is where most people fail, because they want without discipline, they decree without coherence, they desire without structure. And gold, which is a silent god, cannot be deceived. Gold recognizes the master and moves away from the apprentice who has not yet burned away their impurities. That is why I have said before, and I repeat, abundance is not a gift, it is a test, and only those who have transformed themselves can hold it without being destroyed by it. How is will forged? Not with repression, not with prayer, not with morality. Will is forged as a sword is forged, with fire, hammer, and purpose. Fire, your passion, your desire elevated to purpose, your decision to be more than what you were taught to be. Hammer, your repeated actions, your habits sharpened like blades, your consistency as an act of magic. Purpose, your vision, your north, your inner word that does not waver, your truth that burns without hesitation. Because if you have no fire, your life will be cold and lukewarm. If you have no hammer, you will be shaped by others. And if you have no purpose, all your gold will turn to ashes. I, Aleister Crowley, do not write to comfort you. I write to initiate you, to remind you that your will is the most dangerous and sacred tool you possess, that with it you can summon angels or demons, create empires, or chain yourself within your own mind, and that gold, money, abundance are nothing more than the world's response to your inner structure. That is why, before asking for more, you must ask yourself, have I been forged? Have I been purified? And have I declared my will to the universe with enough fire to burn away my doubts? It is not your education, and it is not your environment, it is not your country, and it is not your luck, and it is your will. And if that will is clear, firm, structured, and divine, then the gates will open. Then gold will have no choice but to come. Then the universe, which is nothing but your reflection, will bow before you, as matter bows before spirit. That has remembered its power. Many speak of empowerment, but few understand that true power is not shouting, nor fighting, nor resisting. True power is to decree in silence and shift reality with the precision of an invisible architect. True power is to walk into a room and have the air change. True power is to make decisions without asking for permission. True power is to look at money and say, "You come because I command you." And only those who have been forged can do this. Those who have burned away their old identity. Those who have buried their guilt. Those who have transmuted their desire into sacred decree. Those who no longer seek but emanate. Just as the alchemist transforms lead into gold, you must transform need into certainty, weakness into fire, desire into decree. Because your gold is not outside, your gold is within. And when you recognize this, the entire world will have no choice but to adjust to that frequency. Because external gold is nothing but the universe's response to your internal gold. Do not prepare to receive more, prepare to be more. Do not ask which ritual to use, and ask yourself if you are the ritual. Do not focus on money. Focus on the one who holds money with the hands of an awakened spirit. And then, only then, gold will come to you, as a servant, as a mirror, as a seal, as confirmation, that you are no longer a beggar, nor a seeker, nor a slave to your desires. You are the master of inner gold. Chapter 6. The Ritual of Possession. Between the magic of desire and the art of receiving, desire alone is not enough. Desire without ritualized action is but a sigh in the storm. And you, who have spent years desiring without results, who cry out to the universe with a tongue broken from so much asking, still have not understood that to possess is an art, a rite, a consecration of fire and certainty. Possession is not the result of obtaining, but the act of declaring what is obtained as an essential part of your being. I have watched the modern world beg for its destiny, praying for gold to arrive, manifesting with affirmations unsupported by internal power, visualizing castles while their soul vibrates in lack. I have seen neon sorcerers speak of abundance, while their energy screams of need and everyone wants to receive, but almost no one has learned to possess. And possessing, listen carefully, is not the same as having. Having is circumstantial. Possessing is ontological. Having is accidental. Possessing is initiatory. A beggar can have money, a slave can receive wealth. But only the one who possesses with awakened will transforms that act into true alchemy. The ritual of possession is not celebrated with words. It is celebrated in the vibratory intimacy of your consciousness, in that space where what you desire ceases to be external and becomes emanation. Desire, when aligned with the truth of your being, is a sacred spark, the flame that ignites the ritual. But that spark must be sustained, cultivated, turned into gesture, intention, vibratory structure. And only then, when desire has been elevated to the rank of decree, can you receive. Because the universe does not give out of compassion. It gives out of resonance. This is the fatal mistake of fools. They believe that asking is enough, that visualizing is sufficient, that imagining replaces the ritual work of integration. But the universe, that brutal mirror of your inner structure, does not give what you ask. It gives what you have already accepted as yours. The ritual of possession begins when you stop waiting and begin living as if it already were, not pretending, not acting, but inhabiting your vision with such intensity that gold, success, and freedom have no choice but to manifest as the natural effect of your state of being. And how do you receive? Here lies the forgotten part. Receiving is also an art, and the art of receiving demands openness, worthiness, responsibility. The one who does not see themselves as worthy unconsciously rejects. The one who has not healed their guilt sabotages their abundance. The one who fears losing will never be able to hold on. I have seen magicians who know how to invoke but do not know how to retain. I have seen creators who achieve but cannot inhabit their achievement, because the energy of reception is feminine, lunar, deep. And many, trapped in the hyperactivity of seeking, have mutilated this sacred part of themselves. Receiving is allowing the universe to penetrate you. Receiving is trusting that what arrives is response, not threat. Receiving is opening your hands without fear that they will empty. Receiving is surrendering to your own power without sabotage. And this too is ritual. It is silence that recognizes. It is gratitude that does not beg, only affirms. It is certainty without arrogance. It is the knowing of the initiate, who does not need proof because he is the proof. The true magician, when he desires, does not kneel, he rises. When he asks, he does not beg, he declares. And when he receives, he is not surprised, he recognizes. Because the ritual of possession does not seek miracles. It is the miracle embodied. Now I will tell you something that will shatter your beliefs. If you are still entangled in the slave mindset, everything you do not claim as yours, with full authority you have already lost, because in the new kingdom of the lion, only that which is held by awakened consciousness remains. The rest vanishes like smoke, like mirage, like a castle of sand in the hands of the wind. This chapter is not theory, it is a conjuration, and I tell you this as one who has walked through the eons, who has spoken with the gods of matter and has torn their secrets from them. With fire, learn to desire with clarity, learn to receive with humility, and learn to possess with sovereignty. Do not say, I hope it comes. Say, it is already mine. Do not say, one day I will have. Say, I am the one who manifests. Do not say, I wish money would come. Say, money is my reflection and my servant. It walks beside me because my vibration has summoned it. Do you now understand why so many fail? Because they have not made their life a ritual. Because they have not turned their desire into sacred art. Because they still vibrate as slaves, while asking for the attributes of kings, and gold, that ancient spirit dwelling in the current of centuries, does not tolerate incoherence. It serves the one who honors it. It arrives to the one who has already built an inner altar. It stays with the one who knows how to sustain their fire. The ritual of possession is not an event, it is a state, it is a path, and it is a transmutation. And you, if you have understood, and if you have felt the hidden pulse in these words, if you have breathed the invisible incense of this truth, you are no longer a beggar. You are a king walking toward his throne, a magician consecrated in his power, a god awakening to his forgotten inheritance. Do your will. That shall be the whole of the law. And if your will is to possess, with dignity, what your soul has decreed, the universe will bow before you, as time bows before the eternal. Chapter 7, Financial Magic. The forbidden art of attracting, using, and expanding. What is forbidden has always been the most sacred, because what the world calls heresy, the initiate recognizes as the secret root of power, and among all the occult knowledge, buried beneath the dust of temples and the curses of moralists, one has been the most feared, the most distorted, the most denied. The magic of money, because where there is money there is power, and where there is power there is freedom, and where there is freedom there is no control. The system does not fear your prayers, it fears your abundance. Dogma does not tremble at your empty rituals. It trembles when you perform them with pure intention and become an unstoppable channel of manifestation. The false gods do not suffer because of your sins. They suffer when you remember that you are the creator of all value. And that is why I write this chapter as a grimoire, as a conjuration against spiritual mediocrity, as a spell in favor of your right to attract, use, and expand money with sacred mastery. Because financial magic, yes, with a K, because I am not talking about tricks. I'm talking about power, and it is the art of consciously intervening in the energetic current of money, to master it, transmute it, and multiply it. And note that this is not about superstition. This is about deep alignment with the principles that govern matter. Money is energy. But even more than that, money is crystallized will. Therefore, to attract it is an act of conjuration. To use it is an act of government. And to expand it is an act of divine creation. Attracting is not begging. It is not waiting. It is not repeating phrases like parrots, trapped in cages of false positivity. Attracting is vibrating. It is modifying your energetic field so profoundly that money has no choice but to recognize you as a legitimate magnet. And that is not achieved through affirmations, but through presence, certainty, and sustained action, rooted in an identity that no longer asks, it commands. The financial magician does not desire wealth, he magnetizes it, not out of greed, but out of mission, because he knows that every coin that enters his field is another tool to execute his will in the world. How do you attract, then, in ritual terms? First, deprogram, break your invisible vows of poverty, dismantle the decayed morality that associates wealth with sin, fast from guilt, meditate on dignity, exercise resentment against the rich. All of this is ancient witchcraft, a ritual of purification. Then declare who you are, not to others but to the universe, not with empty words but with symbols, gestures, decisions. Every time you choose excellence, you are working magic. Every time you choose not to self-sabotage, you are tracing an invisible sigil in the air, and only then do you use. Because attracting without knowing how to use is condemning yourself to the same hell as the ignorant. Using money is understanding its flow, its mood, its obedience. Money moves like a river. If you tie it down, it rots. If you channel it, it fertilizes. Using money magically is consecrating it. It is knowing that every expense is a spell, every investment is a decree, every financial act is an extension of your ritual of power. That is why the magician does not spend without intention. That is why the magician blesses, both what leaves his hand and what enters his account, because he knows that money is not a number, it is a spirit, and the spirit responds to the one who recognizes it. And now the part feared by cowards, expansion. Because attracting is initiatory, using is governing, but expanding is creating worlds. Expanding money is becoming a channel of abundance for others, without losing your center. It is multiplying without attachment, and it is circulating without scarcity, and it is sharing without guilt, and it is knowing that when you give with consciousness, the universe responds with sacred geometry. And when you withhold out of fear, the universe responds with decomposition. The magician who expands does not do so out of forced generosity, but out of spiritual flow, because he has understood that money is life in motion, and that if gold stagnates, the soul does too. That is why the expansion of money is not a financial act. It is an act of illumination. Financial magic is not learned in academic books, nor in schools of economics. It is learned in the trenches of the soul, where desire, intention, and action fuse. It is learned by looking money in the eyes without fear, by invoking it with respect, by using it with power, by releasing it with wisdom. And you, who until now have been a spectator of money, who have waited for it, judged it, or chased it, you must decide, will you continue to worship its form, or will you command its essence? Because the true magician does not let gold possess him, he possesses it. And he does not possess it with force, but with law. He does not retain it out of fear, but commands it by nature, because gold recognizes its king. And you, if you have reached this far, are no longer a beggar, you are becoming a priest of your internal economy. Asterisk, asterisk, do your will. That shall be the whole of the law. Asterisk, asterisk. And if your will is to attract, use, and expand money, as the sacred fire that it is, then let the gates of the world open before you, because you have built them from within. Chapter 8. The mind as the astral bank where true wealth is printed. Do you think money lives in banks, in vaults, in digital systems designed by human hands? They taught you that wealth is built outside, that capital is physical, that the bank account is the altar from where one prays to the God of abundance. But I reveal to you what they never told you, because they fear you knowing it. The only bank that creates true wealth is inside your mind, and its name is Astral Bank. There, in the invisible temple of your consciousness, is where every figure is printed that you will later see reflected in the physical world. Because everything you have manifested on this plane is nothing but a copy, a shadow, an echo of what first occurred in your inner reality. And if your spiritual account is empty, if your mental structure is fragmented, and if your astral field is full of emotional debt and beliefs of lack, then the universe will never give you the wealth you proclaim. I, Aleister Crowley, have walked the secret halls of that inner bank. I have seen men poor in body but rich in soul, and also the materially rich spiritually empty. I've understood that what defines fortune is not the accumulation of gold but the vibratory frequency from which gold becomes possible. And that frequency is not attained by luck, nor by the merit of others. It is built as a temple. It is engraved as a sigil. It is printed as a talisman in the subtle flesh of the mind. Think of your mind as a sacred printing press. Every thought is a coin, every sustained emotion is a transfer, every belief is a financial structure, and every decree is an investment. What are you printing today? What kind of bills are coming out of your mind? Wealth or ruin, faith or fear, expansion or repetition? Most people print misery without knowing it. They ask for wealth while visualizing losing it. They declare abundance while their body trembles at the thought of possessing it. They dream of success while their inner voice whispers, "You don't deserve it." That is dysfunctional astral banking. That is esoteric accounting in the red. That is vibrational ruin. And I did not come to console you, but I came to give you the formulas that burn. True wealth is engraved in the mind with the fire of will. And to do so, you must learn the hidden art of printing reality. For your astral bank to work in your favor, you must first turn it into a temple. Nothing enters this temple without ritual. Nothing is sustained without attention, and nothing expands without awareness. Every thought you repeat without watching it is a blank check to chaos. Every emotion you hold without intention is a loan to the shadow. Every image you allow without filter is a signature on your economic destiny. The great magicians do not just watch their words. They guard their thoughts like jewels, because they know that the mind is a portal, and what is printed in it will eventually come down to the plane of form, as money, opportunities, contracts, inheritances, businesses, and miracles, which the ignorant will call coincidence. The magician, on the other hand, does not live by coincidences. He lives by the hidden causalities that he himself designed. Do you want to know how wealth is printed in your astral bank? First, with image. Visualize, yes, but not like a child playing with imagination. Visualize like an architect, with details, with structure, with certainty. See the numbers, the faces, the signatures, the objects, the surroundings. Feel the weight of gold in your hands. Smell the new paper of the bill. Feel the vibration of the transferred figure. And don't do it like someone waiting. Do it like someone remembering. Second, with emotion. Emotion is the ink with which your printing press operates. If you visualize wealth but feel doubt, you will print debt. If you imagine success but feel fear, you will print failure. Hold the correct emotion with the correct image, and you will have a check sealed by the universe. Third, with repetition. Wealth is not printed with a single thought. It is printed like a sword being hammered, again and again until the structure is fixed. Ritualize your visualization, make it daily, do it with fire. Do it like one who knows that what they are seeing already exists in the astral, and therefore it will come. Fourth, with detachment. Yes, detachment. Because the astral bank responds to those who print from certainty, not from need. It's not about begging the universe. It's about declaring what is already yours by vibratory right, and then releasing it, like one who throws a decree into the fire and continues their journey, knowing that the magic is already in motion. The mind is the cradle of reality, and money is nothing but an idea, held with such force that it becomes substance. That is why the truly rich do not work only for money. They work on their frequency, and the truly poor do not lack opportunities. They lack internal structure. You do not need to learn to give money. You need to learn to print it in your mind. You need every cell of your thought to be a decree. You need every emotion you tolerate to be compatible with your empire. You need every belief you inhabit to be worthy of your throne. Because the universe is a printing press, and you are the designer. And if until today your checks have bounced, it's because you didn't have an internal signature. But now you know, now you remember, now you can rewrite your economy from the plane that truly governs. The invisible plane. Do your will. That shall be the whole of the law, and if your will is wealth, then print, 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 and do not stop until the physical world is a faithful copy of your astral bank. Chapter 9, the Holy Guardian Angel and Gold. Whom does your money serve? Much has been spoken of the Holy Guardian Angel, that higher self that watches from the invisible realm, that radiant archetype that guards the spark of your divinity. Some imagine it as a being, others as an external entity. But the initiate knows that it is not someone. It is what you are when you have burned everything that you are not. It is your highest will manifested in pure form. It is your crown, your destiny before contamination. It is the immutable and sacred version of yourself before the masks, before fear, before the name. And if it, or better said, that is your incandescent essence, then every manifestation not in communion with that spark will be parasitic. It will be noise, it will be misery. Here arises the question that divides the profane from the initiated. Whom does your money serve? Does it serve your ego or your holy guardian angel? Because gold is energy, yes, but it is also a sword, and every sword can be kept for good or for destruction. Money, as an extension of your will serve your light if your consciousness is aligned with the angel. But if not, it will serve your fragments, your traumas, your masks. Then gold will become a whip, a prison, a burden, not because money is evil, I've said this before, but because it faithfully serves the master who summons it. And who is summoning inside you? Your shadow which wants to possess to hide its emptiness. Your wounded child, who seeks revenge for a life of lack. Your inflated ego, who wants to crush the world with its success. Or your holy guardian angel, who desires gold not for adornment, but for mission, for expansion, for the divine execution of purpose. I have seen men rich in fortune dragging their wealth as chains. I have seen queens' crowns trapped in gold they believed they controlled. I have seen fallen magicians, lost initiates, materialistic priests, building empires to uphold a false god. The money that does not serve the angel rots, it escapes, it becomes a curse. And dear reader, this is not moralism. This is practical alchemy, because the angel does not want your poverty. The angel does not want you to renounce gold. The angel wants you to govern it in its name. The angel wants you to turn money into a sword of light. The angel wants you to make gold a servant, not an altar. It wants you to place it in service to the hidden plan you yourself designed before birth. When you are pure fire, pure will, a star without a body, and when money subordinates itself to the angel, something changes. Abundance no longer intoxicates, wealth no longer divides, success no longer hurts, because everything flows from the center, and that center is him. You without the angel are a broken vessel. You with the angel are a royal crown. Do you want to know if your money serves the angel or your shadow? Observe yourself. Does your money give you peace or anxiety? Does it expand you or confine you? Does it allow you to serve, create, elevate, or only feed your mask? It is not about donating. It is not about distributing guilt, nor justifying wealth with forced charity. It is about aligning your financial flow with your sacred fire. It is about making every coin that enters or leaves your field an extension of your true will. And I am not talking about living like a monk, or disguising your greed with mysticism. I am talking about embodying inner royalty, that which does not need approval, permission, or forgiveness, that which does not kneel to the morality of mediocres, nor to the dogmas of the hungry. The angel does not want you to beg. The angel wants you to remember that you are gold, that you are temple, that you are throne. When money is directed by the angel, it becomes an instrument of precision. It is not wasted, it is not hidden, and it is not accumulated out of fear. It is used as light. It is invested as seed. It is honored as a symbol. And in that state, money seeks you because you are no longer someone who wants to have. You are someone who already is. Here lies the essential difference. The shadow seeks money to fill itself. The angel receives money because it overflows. You do not attract wealth for what you do. You attract it for what you embody, for the vibration that sustains your silence, for the coherence between what you think, what you do, and what you know you are. I do not write this to convince you. I, Aleister Crowley, do not teach popular spirituality, nor sweet metaphysics. I invoke, I declare, I consecrate gold to the true temple of I Am. And if you are ready, if you have felt the fire behind every word, then answer, whom does your money serve? Because if it does not serve your highest will, then it is possessing you. And if it possesses you, it denies you. And if it denies you, it does not matter how much you have already lost it. Do your will. That shall be the whole of the law. And if your will vibrates with the frequency of the angel, then may the gold of the universe bow and become a mirror of your invincible light. Chapter 10. The Gospel of the Rich Initiates, the Law of the Inner Treasure. Not all rich people are initiates, not all initiates are rich. But there is an invisible elite, a nameless order without temple, without earthly hierarchy, formed by those who have fused their gold with the fire of consciousness. They do not announce themselves, they do not preach, they do not share empty advice in the plazas of the masses. They simply manifest, they execute, they govern. They are the heirs of the hidden treasure, the guardians of the most feared secret by the moralistic world. True wealth is not found, it is remembered. This chapter is not written for those seeking techniques. It is written for those seeking thrones, for those who have understood that the universe is mental, magical, and malleable, and that money is nothing more than the logical response of a world that submits to those who no longer doubt their divinity. This is the gospel of the rich initiates, and their law is simple. Everything you see outside you have already activated inside. Wealth is not a goal, it is a state, a frequency, a vibrational structure that settles in the soul when it has stopped begging God and has remembered that it is God dreaming itself. And he who knows himself divine does not ask for gold. He commands it. He who knows himself the source does not seek fortune, he generates it. He who has sealed his mind with the truth of I Am does not negotiate with scarcity. He destroys it with his presence, and so the rich initiates live, not as collectors of bills, but as priests of value. Every gesture is a decree, every investment is magic, every action is a symbol, and every result is a manifested ritual. The law of the inner treasure cannot be learned in universities, nor in conferences, nor in self-help circles. Because this law is not mental, it is ontological. It is not understood, it is embodied. It is the code that can only be activated when your identity has been stripped of all that is false. when you no longer act to have, nor fight to win, nor beg to receive, but simply are, and that is enough. Do you want to access this law? Then you must die. Die to your name, die to your biography, die to the character you inherited from parents, churches, nations, and fears. Because the inner treasure is not delivered to the ego, it is revealed to the throne of being, and that throne is only available to the one who has crossed the veil and has returned with eyes burning with certainty. The gospel of the rich initiates is not written in books or manuscripts. It is engraved in their decisions, in their fertile silence, in their gaze that does not beg, in their ability to create with words what others cannot achieve with effort. And no, this is not privilege, this is design. And you, if you have come this far, can no longer claim ignorance. You have read the signs, you have been touched by the fire, and now the choice is yours. Will you remain a seeker, or will you claim your place among the initiates? Because this gospel admits no spectators, only kings, only alchemists, and only creators, those who have understood that everything valuable in the world is a shadow of what already burns inside. Visible wealth is a symptom, money is a consequence, success is an expanding wave, the cause is in the inner treasure, that indestructible core where your truth dwells, without words, your gold without form, your power without history. The ancients called it divine spark, the Kabbalists called it neshama, the Hindus called it Atman, and I call it true will. And when that will has been ignited, no universe can resist its command. The rich initiates do not fear loss because they do not live in the illusion of lack. They emanate abundance, just as the sun emits light, not as an act, but as a consequence of its being. And you, reader, who burns in your eyes, must know it. There is nothing to achieve, there is only remembering. There is nothing to obtain, and there is only activating. There is no treasure outside of you. That is not a replica of that which you have already contained eternally. The gospel of the rich initiates is not a path outward. It is a descent to the core, a meeting with your shadows, an act of inner enthronement. And when that throne has been occupied, money, gold, opportunities, prestige, all bow as servants. Everything aligns before your vibration, everything surrenders before your fire. Do your will. That shall be the whole of the law. And if your will has been aligned with the law of the inner treasure, the entire world will become a reflection of your secret sovereignty. Chapter 11. The Curse of the Poor in Spirit. How Morality Represses Fortune. There is no poverty more destructive than the one carried in the soul. I do not mean the lack of coins. That can be solved with an order. I'm not talking about material scarcity, that is just a symptom. I mean the true curse, poverty of spirit. This vibrational disease that gnaws at the will, that distorts desire, that chains the individual within mental prisons, made of morality, shame, and self-deception. And the worst part is that it is an inherited curse, passed down from generation to generation, as a dogma disguised as virtue. It is taught in temples, it is preached from pulpits, it is engraved in the chests of children, as if it were a universal law, but it is not law. It is programming, an infected code that whispers, you don't need so much. Money corrupts desire. It's a sin. Humility is noble. Wealth is dangerous. All lies, rituals of control, sorceries to keep you docile, obedient, small. I did not come to make friends. I came to destroy idols, and one of the most poisonous idols raised by civilization. Is morality as a brake on power? Because morality, as understood by the poor in spirit, is not a code of virtue. It is a system of domestication, and when it comes to money, it is a slow poison that sterilizes consciousness. Those who preach misery as holiness do so because they cannot bear the brilliance of those who remember their royalty. An enlightened soul terrifies the lukewarm, and since they cannot kill your fire, they try to convince you that extinguishing it is the right thing to do. They teach you to fear desire, to suspect success, to hate abundance, and you, in the name of good, mutilate yourself, renounce, sabotage yourself, become impoverished, believing that this will make you purer. But poverty is not purity, and it is distortion. It is trauma turned into ideology. It is fear disguised as humility. The truth does not want you poor. The universe does not reward scarcity. God is not a petty accountant who punishes those who prosper. That was invented by the servants, written by the resentful, preached by those who cannot bear that someone is free. Money does not understand morality. It is energy, it is force, it is extension, and like all forces, it potentiates what you touch. The one who is virtuous with money amplifies their virtue. The one who is a monster with money amplifies their shadow. But money does not create the monster, it just makes it visible. Morality that represses fortune does so because it wants to control the invisible, because it knows that the free, prosperous, and awakened individual no longer depends on the herd, no longer needs permission, no longer prays to survive. It commands to create. That is the true threat. Not that you have money, but that you govern it. Not that you are rich, but that you know you deserve it. Not that you are successful, but that you dare to enjoy it without guilt. The poor in spirit fear freedom, because freedom requires responsibility. It requires burning the old identity of victimhood. It requires saying, I created this, I can create more, and I owe no one my shame. They want you to feel bad for winning, to feel dirty for desiring, and to feel selfish for choosing abundance. And if you give in, if you accept that guilt, they will have possessed you without chains. I have come to break that curse, because poverty of spirit is not cured with money. It is cured with truth, with consciousness, and with fire. You are not noble for suffering. You are not good for renouncing. You are not holy for having little. You are free when you can choose from everything, and you choose with an ignited heart. Morality that represses fortune is not ethics. It is fear disguised. It is hidden control, and it is the voice of those who have forgotten who they are. And you who remember, who burn, who have read these lines with your soul vibrating like a freshly forged sword, you can no longer turn back. You can no longer hide your shine. You can no longer pretend humility, because that would be betrayal. Betray your angel, betray your inner gold, betray your will. Do your will, it shall be the whole law. And if your will is to destroy the morality of slaves, to build your throne of fire, let the world kneel before your glory. Awaken, because you are no longer poor. You are no longer a victim. You are the heir to all, and you have remembered your crown. Chapter 12. Gold does not forgive the weak, the price of not knowing how to command. Not everyone who attracts gold is prepared to hold it. Not everyone who receives wealth has learned the art of ruling it. And therein lies one of the most dangerous secrets of the invisible world. Gold does not reward the good, nor the just, nor the pure. Gold responds to the strong and devours the weak. It is not about physical strength or moral strength. I'm not talking about courage in battle or compassion in charity. The true strength that gold obeys is an inner strength, a frequency of energetic authority that emanates from those who have sealed their will with fire. Gold, contrary to what scarcity moralists teach, has no heart, does not feel compassion, does not heed pleas, does not respond to empty prayers. Gold has no soul of its own, but it amplifies yours. That's why I say it does not forgive. Because if it reaches the hands of the uninitiated, the ignorant, the weak, it destroys, exposes, unmasks, and consumes. I have seen this time and time again, inheritances that evaporate in the hands of the lukewarm, prizes that end up as curses, sudden fortunes that unleash emotional chaos, ruin, addictions, internal wars, because gold demands command, and those who don't know how to command will be commanded. Gold is like a wild horse. It arrives with strength, it shines, it neighs, and waits for the rider. But if there is no rider, the horse does not stay still. It gallops over its owner and crushes them. This is the principle no one teaches in schools. Wealth is a weapon, and you are its master or its victim. The weak believe that having money is enough. They think that attracting fortune is the end of the path, but attracting is barely the first test. Holding is the true ritual, multiplying is the consecration, ruling is the coronation. And how is gold governed? Not with fear, not with greed, not with rigidity, and not with guilt. Gold is governed as elementals are governed, with absolute presence, unbreakable will, and unwavering vision. Weakness in relation to money does not only manifest in poverty, it also manifests in anxiety, in attachment, in misuse. It manifests in the fear of losing it, in the need to flaunt it, and in the ashamed silence of the one who does not believe they are worthy of it. The weak believe they must hide their gold to avoid arousing envy. The strong consecrate it and share it as an extension of their fire. The weak fear that money will corrupt them. The strong know that their will is greater than any number. The weak hold, accumulate, retain, like one who tries to catch air with their hands. The strong let it flow, invest, direct, like one who commands the wind with a sigh. And what happens to the one who receives gold before their time? The inevitable happens. Gold reveals their true condition. It shows them their emptiness, their ignorance, their emotional chaos, and punishes them, not out of cruelty, but out of obedience to the law, because gold in the hands of the weak accelerates self-destruction. This is not a curse, it is a mirror. And you who have read up to here can no longer escape the essential question. Are you prepared to command? Can you hold wealth without being possessed by it? Can you multiply without losing the essence? Can you live surrounded by abundance without forgetting the purpose? The initiate does not wait to be ready. They prepare, they sharpen, they purify, they affirm their throne, and they train in command. They are forged like a sword and not like a staff, because they know that sooner or later gold will come. And when it comes, it will not be a reward, and it will be a test. And if you are not ready, it will take everything from you. It will break you, and it will humble you. It will bring you to your knees so you remember that gold was never the goal, but the mirror of your mastery. This is not a message of fear. It is a warning for those who dare. Gold is fire, and if you do not know how to command, it will burn you. Do your will, it shall be the whole law. And if your will is to become a master worthy of gold, let your inner fire be stronger than any number, because only the inner king can hold the outer kingdom. Chapter 13, Golden Invocations, words that open the seals of the infinite. The universe was created by the word, not by matter, not by hands, not by mechanical work, but by a vibrant, serrated, incandescent word, free from morality and measure. And you, image and reflection of that eternal source, were not designed to speak as a slave, but to invoke as God. This chapter is not for those who repeat affirmations without fire. It is not for those who write phrases on paper waiting for miracles, like someone casting bottles into the sea. This chapter is for the alchemists of the word, those who know that every word can open or close portals. What phrase decrees modifies the hidden seals of the subtle world? What phrase is invocation when charged with intention? It is not a pretty thought. It is a guided atomic bomb. I speak to you of golden invocations, the words that not only call upon money but activate the gold within you, because all external gold is just the mineral echo of your inner fire, and the words that invoke it are not simple sounds. They are codes, they are keys, they are seals of access to the infinite. And how are these words created? Where are they written? In what language? In what sacred book? They are not written. They are engraved in your blood, in your marrow, in your shadow, in your will. Golden invocations are not inherited. They are not copied. They are not recited like prayers of a slave. They are revealed when your inner voice has remembered it can create realities. You have spoken words that have impoverished you. You have done so unknowingly. You have said, I can't, I don't have, I'm not enough, it's difficult, it's too much, it's too late. Each of those phrases was a dark invocation, a prayer to the abyss, a contract with scarcity. And you did it so many times that the universe responded as a loyal servant. The universe does not distinguish between prayer and blasphemy. It only obeys vibration. And if yours was weak, doubtful, fearful, guilty, gold vanished, paths closed, doors ignored you. But today, here, now, that pattern breaks, because you are about to pronounce the words that do not ask, the words that command. A golden invocation does not say, I want. It says, I am. A golden invocation does not beg for wealth. It claims its place as the source. A golden invocation is not spoken with a trembling voice, and it is intoned like thunder, like an order written in the heart of the stars, and it doesn't need to be long, rhythmic, or poetic. It is enough that it burns, enough that it cuts through, enough that it burns you when spoken. You can create your own invocations, yes, because you are temple, altar, and priest. You don't need authorization. You don't need permission. You only need presence. And if you don't know where to start, let me give you some seals engraved in the blood of those who have already remembered. I am the gold that I command. My voice is law in the world of matter. Where I am, there is wealth because I am the source. Money obeys me because my will is fire. I declare, decree, manifest my reality, and it bends before me. These are not phrases, they are swords. And if you pronounce them with consciousness, you will feel the tremor in the air. You will feel the invisible geometry reordering. You will feel the seals of the infinite open one by one until gold has no choice but to appear. But beware, a poorly pronounced invocation without presence, without identity. Awakened is just noise. Gold does not respond to the echo. It responds to the center. It responds to the one who has already taken their inner throne. It responds to the one who no longer doubts, to the one who is. Golden invocations are tools, yes, but they are also tests. Every time you pronounce them, the universe listens and then waits for you to uphold your word. Because he who invokes but does not act curses themselves. He who declares and then retreats betrays themselves. He who proclaims wealth but lives as poor in spirit drowns in their contradiction. Are you ready for the world to obey you? Are you prepared for reality to kneel before your word? Then speak, but not as a man, not as a believer, speak as God. Do your will, it shall be the whole law. And if your word has been forged in the flame of I am, then may the entire universe respond, and gold walk toward you as an eternal servant. Chapter 14, when the magician dresses as a king, the triumph of will over scarcity. The magician has walked alone. He has descended into the abyss of his shadow. He has faced his own masks, his demons, his inherited voices. He has exorcised the phrases of his parents, those of his teachers, those of his culture. He has burned doctrines, names, dogmas, fears. And at the end of the path, he did not find God. He found himself. But something else hid in that moment. Naked of illusions, clean of lies, and ignited with certainty. The magician did not settle for knowing. He decided to reign. Because to know without manifesting is spiritual masturbation. Because to awaken without action is a fraud. Because to remember who you are and not live as such is the greatest of hidden sins. And that's why the true magician, when he has sealed his will with the fire of experience, dresses as a king. And when he does, scarcity dies. Scarcity is not a lack of resources, it is a lack of inner throne. It is absence of command. It is the void of the one who doubts, while the tremor of the one who proclaims but does not sustain, the contradiction of the one who desires but fears to have. And here lies the difference. The beggar desires, the magician decrees, but the king needs not say anything, and his existence is a spell, his presence is decree, his stride is law. When the magician dresses as a king, he does not change his clothes, his tone of voice, nor his bank account. He changes his vibration, and gold, that mineral spirit which obeys only the true gods, recognizes him, bows, approaches, and becomes his ally. Because gold knows where the throne is, and where there is a throne there is order, and where there is order there is abundance. The magician who dresses as a king does not seek approval, he does not need to convince anyone, he does not beg for love, validation, or respect. He knows all that emanates from him, as light as perfume, as a gravitational field of awakened will. And then the inevitable happens. The material world begins to adjust to his presence. Reality, that loyal dog of the awakened, opens paths for him, presents allies, hands him keys. The contracts arrive, the doors give way, money flows, influence grows, life falls into order. But not as a miracle, not as a reward, but as a logical response to the integration of consciousness. Scarcity cannot inhabit the same body where a king resides, because scarcity is parasitic, and inner royalty does not tolerate guests. That's why, if you want to kill scarcity, don't work harder, work on your crown. And your crown is not bought. It is forged with fire, with truth, with renunciations, with decisions that burn, with words that bleed authority. When the magician dresses as a king, he no longer asks how or why. He knows that he, as he is the matter of servants, and that his only task is to be the one who already has it, to be the one who already is, to be the one who already commands. And what is the final difference between the common magician and the true king? The magician knows he can change his reality. The king knows he is the reality, and that is why everything that exists orders itself around his frequency. And that is why scarcity, that echo of ignorance, disappears, not because it has been defeated with struggle, but because it has been transcended by presence. The will that is crowned reigns, and where there is reign there can be no lack and no fear, no doubt. The only way to kill scarcity is to claim the throne, sit and govern, and let life adjust to your fire. Do your will, it shall be the whole law. If your will is to reign over your inner and outer world, may scarcity disappear like a shadow before your light, because the magician has awakened, and the king has returned to take his place. Chapter 15. Crown yourself with gold. The final ritual of the prosperous adept. There comes a moment on the path of the adept when everything has been said, everything has been seen, everything has been faced. There is no shadow left that has not been illuminated, no fear left that has not been devoured. The masks have been burned, and the false altars have been demolished, and the will has been sealed with blood, with silence, with fire. And then, when the initiate has stopped being a disciple, and has stopped pretending that he still needs to learn, the final moment arrives, the coronation ritual. But this is not an external ceremony. There are no applause, no witnesses, no incense, no garments. The true crown is invisible, and it is made of gold, not of metal, but of the state of inner gold, which has been forged with tears, with impossible decisions, with internal deaths. To crown yourself with gold is the final act of the magician, who no longer needs variation, who no longer compares, who no longer measures his power by what he has, but by what he can sustain without losing himself. Gold in this act is no longer wealth. It is a mirror, it is a symbol, and it is a decree, and it is a seal. To crown yourself with gold is to declare before the universe and the eons, I have remembered who I am. I have defeated the beggar who lived in my mind. I have killed the moralist who chained my desire. I have transmuted guilt, fear, and doubt. and now I do not wait for the throne, I take it. This is the final ritual of the prosperous adept, and it is not done with candles. It is done with attitude, with posture, with action. No longer visualized, it is embodied. No longer invoked, it is emanated. No longer requested, it is decreed. Because everything that was seeking becomes presence. Everything that was hope becomes certainty. Everything that was intention becomes reign. And here, at this point, everything that seemed important, money, achievements, prestige, numbers, becomes secondary, because gold is no longer something you possess. It is what composes you. It is what vibrates in your gaze. It is what walks with you as an inescapable magnetic field. Do you realize the difference? The beggar says, I hope I have. The seeker says, I am attracting. The initiate says, I already am. But the prosperous adept, crowned with his gold, no longer needs to speak. His silence is empire. His stride is decree. His life is constant ritual. This final ritual has no day or hour. It does not need a temple. It does not wait for aligned stars. It happens when you decide to no longer postpone yourself. When you walk down the street and know that gold will come to you, not because you deserve it, but because you can no longer vibrate in anything else. When you make a purchase, an investment, a commitment, and you do it from majesty, not from scarcity. When you say yes to an opportunity and do not tremble. When you say no to what no longer reflects your throne and do not explain. Then you have crowned yourself. Then the ritual has been fulfilled. Then you are gold among men. And what happens next is what magic can never predict. Because when the adept has crowned himself, the laws change, time folds, contracts fill, walls fall. The world bends before you, not as a slave, but as a mirror of a king who has remembered his eternity. This chapter is a mirror. I give it to you without ceremony, without adornment, without parable. Because you no longer need more words, you only need to recognize the moment. It is now. Are you ready? Are you willing to stop pretending you need more preparation? Are you willing to kill the last beggar, the last saboteur, the last not yet? Then do it. Close your eyes, breathe, and pronounce within yourself, without fear, without guilt, without doubts, the phrase that breaks all veils. I am the gold incarnate. And let the vibration expand. Let your body hold it. Let your soul engrave it, and let the universe hear it. Because that will be the exact moment when the invisible throne manifests under your feet. And then, yes, without turning back, without permission, without returning to misery, crown it. Do your will, it shall be the whole law. And if your will has remembered that you have always been king, let gold come to seal your brow, because you no longer seek it, you reign it.